Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. Farm store is open today. So farm store is open Wednesday through Friday from noon to 5:30 and Saturdays from 9 to 12. I had to think for a second. Apparently it's too early and I haven't had enough coffee or something. And it's not even that early. It's 7:30. But farm store is open today, and so I'm going to pick some veggies this morning for the farm store. Yesterday I finished out my spring greens basket for Edible Prairie Project, and so we're kind of working through most of what is in the spring high tunnel, although I'm continuously planting this, and this does stay in production all summer. But I'm trying to get crops kind of out of here so we can transition into the next what needs to be planted for summer production in here. And so we're trying to finish things up. We're going to harvest some more things for farm store, some new stuff that I haven't had in the farm store yet. And I'm just going to kind of show you kind of some of what my harvest technique is and what is growing this time of the year and in production, and kind of show you some of the things that I use, like shade cloth back here, that helps keep things like lettuce and spinach and stuff going longer, because it does get hot in here. If I don't have sides open, it's like 120 and everything dies. So obviously things are open. It is going to be really nice today here on the ranch. It's going to be like 80 degrees. Yesterday was also in the 80s finally. And tomorrow's going to be like 50 something though. And there is a chance of thunderstorms tonight, which is great. Would love some rain. It's been 10 days or so since we've had any rain. So let's harvest a few things and get that done for the day, get that marked off the list. I have to go have a root canal this morning, so kind of shifting my work day so that I can go do that and potentially be out of commission for the rest of the day. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't take me out for the whole day, but I'm preparing and thinking ahead. So let's harvest some stuff. So when I do my baskets for Edible Prairie Project, we're harvesting everything in like 1 or 2 days. We do massive amounts of harvest. Yesterday was the last day for spring greens, and I posted a short about some of the items that were in the basket. So those days are super intense, and we had Memorial Day, and so everything was done on Tuesday. I do usually split things up kind of if we have a big harvest basket, but because of the holiday, everything was done yesterday. So really long day, but spring greens is done. And very happy. We had great baskets. It was a really good growing season. The high tunnel's been amazing. But for farm store, we're kind of continuously harvesting, and I'll pick stuff throughout the week as we need it, so I don't have to do as much. I did 26 baskets for spring greens, so it was 26 of everything. So for farm store, it's like 2 or 3, and then when we run out, like go get more. And so stuff is continuously being refreshed throughout the week in farm store, which is great. But and it's harvest season. I always have RVs on the ranch, and so we're not open to the public every day, but I always have people shopping the farm store. So we've just found that smaller amounts, works better for farm store, so it's just continuously fresh. And things like kale and chard and stuff if they don't sell within like a couple of days, they do tend to like wilt, and so I want things to be fresh and pretty and nice, obviously. So first thing I'm gonna do is some kale. I have purple kale and there's green kale down there. We'll do a bundle of each. So kale actually grows kind of like a tree, and by the end of summer it'll be like up to my shoulders. And so we just actually pick it off from the bottom. And it seems, obviously leaves start out smaller, but like a really good harvest. I've already harvested this front row pretty aggressively for baskets, but it really seems to help get things going. It needs to kind of be pruned, and they'll really get big and vigorous here quickly, and especially like warmer weather, longer days obviously helps. So here's a bundle of kale. I do like 6 to 8 depending on like the size of the leaves. I interplanted some herbs in here. So this is cilantro, there's parsley down there. I've been trying to kind of pick and take leaves that were shadowing so that obviously the herbs could get some sunlight. My rubber band broke. It's dry here, and these rubber bands are from last year, and they do sometimes tend to dry rot, which can be rather frustrating, but it is what it is. So when I do baskets, I have to count, right? Because we have 26. That's what our spring season was. And so you're sitting on a bucket. So there goes my kale. I pre-count out my rubber bands. I put them on my wrist, and then if one breaks, I have to remember, oh, you broke a rubber band. And then I count them when I put them in the sinks. I count them when I put them into our storage bins, our transport bins. And it seems like it never fails. I still end up, not always, but like I had an extra bag of spinach yesterday. I had an extra head of lettuce, which is great because I actually dropped one on the ground. So sometimes I end up short. I don't know. Apparently counting to 26 is sometimes hard. I don't know. I'm going to grab a knife and we'll cut some cilantro. Cilantro is just a cut and it will hopefully come again. So this isn't a super great angle for you guys because the kale is here, but I need 2 hands. So the cilantro will hopefully come back again. It should. We just cut it at the base, wrap a rubber band around it. Easy peasy. One of the tricks with, I'm doing 2 different kind of like market farm models out of the same space, where I'm doing a pre-sold basket, which is a pre-commitment. We sell those in March. We start selling the baskets for Edible Prairie Project. And so I'm pre-committing, a crop and, fulfilling that later in the year. We already have sold all the way through our fall basket and, that's in October. So it's the work that I do now that makes all of that happen. But I obviously have been doing this for a long time. I started selling produce in 2010. So I'm doing 2 different models. I'm doing the farm store where it's as we have it, it goes into the farm store, and baskets where it's like, I have to grow this amount and this quantity and all these different varieties. And obviously there's like variance and it's not like everything always works out. And my customers understand that. This is collard greens that we're going to take some of, I think just 1 bundle. But, I've been doing this long enough that there is pretty much consistency in the baskets. And if I look back from like year to year and stuff, like things are pretty much the same, although there is variance, like I said. Like yesterday we had rainbow chard, and I don't know that it's ever been ready for spring baskets. It's usually ready for summer baskets. But I just always try to add like more variety and like try and get things ready earlier if possible. Or like this year I tried to grow peas in here and it was a fail. Did not work at all. They got too hot, and like sometimes things just don't like time out. This leaf's all, I don't know what happened to this, but I just throw things down on the ground. You can't see it, but and then later we'll come and pick up and compost it or give it to the goats. But, I consistently kind of have some of the same things, but I am trying to grow new things once in a while. I really wanted to have peas. It just didn't work. So I think I would actually have to grow peas significantly earlier, like in February in here, just because it does get so hot. And I even tried shade cloth on them and that didn't work. So, some things work, some things don't. It's always kind of an experiment. I always try and do new things, like a new crop or so every year. I did a different greens mix, which I don't think I will be harvesting today, but I did a greens mix with like tatsoi and mustards and Chinese cabbage, and people liked it, so that was nice. We'll do that again next year. Some things just aren't going to work. So like peas, I just got to give that up, and I now have that bed planted, and it's not going to be like a total loss, but it kind of was like, oh shoot, baskets are over. That space wasn't utilized, but we'll do something different for it next year. Here's my green kale, and you can see this is the parsley down here. And so trying to take the leaves that are shading the crop so that the parsley can get a little bit more height onto it. I also try and take my walkway stuff so that I'm not, I don't want to be bumping into the crop all the time. So it's nice when we do baskets because I can clear out, a crop and really do what I need to do and get things, out of my way if that's kind of the goal. And then for farm store, it's just kind of like clean up and pick here and there. And, some weeks I have weeks where it's like I can't keep certain things in stock, and then other weeks it's a little bit more unpredictable. And so I think it's kind of nice to have both like the pre-sold baskets and then the daily retail, because it really kind of keeps it keeps me being able to harvest like what I need to, when I need to, and not like, I'm not just waiting for like a farmer's market on Saturday to harvest. And I don't know, it's like this whole big like timing puzzle game that I have to play in my brain every week of like what's going where and do I have enough and what needs another week. And sometimes I misjudge, but for the most part, I've kind of got it down to an art of like, on Thursday, I know what's going to be in baskets on Tuesday, and I can tell what's going to be in farm store. And I spent a lot of time thinking about vegetables. That's what I'm trying to say. Next, I'm going to do some Hackerai turnips. So Hackerai turnips are probably something that you don't, like, I don't think I've ever seen them in the grocery store, but they're very common around like the market gardening world and like a lot of like the online like social media groups that I follow. Like a lot of market gardeners grow these. They're delicious. If you can find them at a farmer's market or at a grocery store, I would highly recommend picking them up. So they are like a salad turnip, and they're an Asian salad turnip. They are much, much sweeter than a regular turnip. And my water's running, if you can hear that. I don't know, it's just switching zones. But you can eat them raw. They're delicious. Much sweeter, don't have that like cabbagey, turnipy, like overwhelming. If you've ever had like a purple top turnip, which is like the traditional turnip that's purple kind of on the top and white. These are solid white. These are a little bit bigger than I would ideally like them. You want them more like, well, like this size. And so they're still really good quality. Like they're not woody or anything, but it is kind of like, let's get these out of here. And I harvested them for baskets yesterday to clean them out. So we've got just a few left, which is great. And I've got more planted. And so I'm always doing that in the gardens. So this is going to be a bundle. I've got 6. Sometimes I do more depending on the size. Sometimes I do less. I try to think about like what a family of 4 would use for a meal if they're like average like vegetable eaters. I'm going to grab another bucket. I don't like to put root crops on top of like leafy greens. So you guys are sitting on my bucket with leafy greens. So let me go grab another bucket. So yeah, that's how I do my bundles. Root crops always get bundled. Kale and chard get bundled. Collards get bundled. Things like the loose leaf lettuce, which is next to me, gets put in bags, and I do half-pound bags. I will give all this stuff to Carrie when I get done, and she'll get it all washed up and cleaned for farm store while I go get a root canal. Yeah, it's what I think a family of 4 would use for like one meal if they're average vegetable eaters. Like, obviously, if you really, really like vegetables, I recommend, picking up 2, or if it's like your favorite thing or you want to have more than one meal, then I'd say get 2 bundles. Oh, this one has a split in it, so I will feed that to goats later. So I'm always planting. Like I get asked sometimes like, when do I quit planting? Like August. So as a crop, comes out, then we try and put something else in. So I have more turnips that have germinated. I've got more lettuce, more spinach, more radishes. And so we'll continue to harvest out of the spring high tunnel until all the outside stuff gets like up and going really well. And so that's also kind of like what I'm thinking about, like what's in harvest, what's going to be, what do I need to be planting. And so like the planting doesn't really it does end. Obviously there comes a point where, it's not going to grow because our growing season ends. But this starts out as like spring high tunnel, and then we do have some production in the summer, like the kale and the chard, like I'll harvest from that all year. I don't plant that outside. And then by August, I'm planting things like beets and carrots for my winter harvest. And so I'll harvest out of here until even like December will be kind of the end of when harvest happens. and then starts back up in March. So this tunnel doesn't get much of a break, which is fine. And I actually flip-flop tunnels this year. So this last year was my summer high tunnel, and the other one was my spring, and we did a flip-flop. And that's because I don't want to grow tomatoes and peppers in the same place year after year because of disease and stuff and bugs and everything. And so every 2 years I flip-flop them. I'm going to grab one more for this bundle so that it looks more kind of like this one. Now we're a little more consistent. All right, next is just a mixed green lettuce. I believe that this is, well, I grow 2 different mixed leaf lettuces. I grow a premium like greenhouse. Well, there's an all-star and there's a greenhouse one. I don't honestly remember which one I did. I can't say that I tell like much difference between the 2 of them. One's supposed to be more cold hardy and one's more like heat tolerant. I kind of need both in here because it starts out really cold and then obviously turns very hot. I will put some shade cloth on top of this so that you can see where I've harvested all this once already, and I will get a second cutting off of this. And then this stuff that I'm doing today, this is its first harvest. And then I've got more going so that we don't run out of lettuce. I like to always have some sort of leafy green in the farm store, whether it's spinach or lettuce. We have head lettuce as well right now. So this just has a variety of different types of lettuce. There's green, there's purple. Some of it's crunchy, it's all kind of crunchy, but it's got different textures, which is really nice. I really enjoy this. One of the things I try to do when I harvest is pick out if there's any leaves that you can see are gross, because it happens. Like grab a handful, like that one's not bad, but like that's gonna rot first. And we sort through it when we wash and bag and everything, but if you can do any pre-harvest, like when you harvest, if I can do any cleanup, that's always extremely helpful. All right. This is very fluffy, but there's enough for farm store there. It's very bright right here. I'm right at the very end of the high tunnel, and the sun's coming in the door. Next is arugula. Arugula is something that I only grow in the spring because the flea beetles absolutely love it outside, and it just gets gross. So it's one of those things I've tried like every year to get it to work in the summertime, and it just doesn't. So this is a spring crop. I don't have as much flea beetle infestation in the high tunnel as I do outside. It's real annoying outside in the big garden, but I feel like if you don't have bugs, you don't have a super great like ecosystem, you don't want, like, bugs are part of nature. You don't want such a sterile environment, although you want to manage your pest so you're not losing crops. It's a balance. And I obviously don't want to use like chemicals, and I'm not organic, but, some lettuce. We don't want the lettuce in the arugula. I'm not organic, but I try to be as minimal as possible. This is starting to go to flower, which is fine. We're almost done with this. We've had a good harvest, and I usually let it go to flower. I don't usually pull this one out right away just because I don't really like need the space, and the bees really like it. So they need food too. Arugula is like spicy and peppery tasting. Oops, threw that in your bucket. It's really good on sandwiches. It's really good on pizza. I like it mixed in with like my other lettuce or spinach. I don't need as much as this. We do 1/4 pound bags on the spicy stuff just because it doesn't, like, you don't need as much of it. Some people love just like arugula, but straight arugula salads, but I found most people like to mix it with other stuff. I'm going to try and do like 2 crops here because I'm at the same time, you know, because like I'm in the walkway. So I've got the last of the baby bok choy, and then over here we have kohlrabi, which isn't ready yet. It didn't make it for spring greens, which it doesn't usually, which is okay. There's a little baby bok choy. Oh, look, I'm in the shadow. This is in the sun. I love bok choy. It's one of my favorite. Again, this is a springtime only crop. It just doesn't seem to do well in the summer. Some of it is starting to flower, starting to bolt. So you can see it's starting to form a flower. So when it does that, it'll get bitter. So I'm looking for the last of them that are not doing that, which these ones are all pretty close. We always have some crop loss. It's just inevitable. You're not going to harvest 100% of what you plant. But I factor that in, knowing that like I'm just not going to get to all of it, or sometimes things bolt faster than you anticipated, depending on the weather, especially if it goes from cool to hot, which of course has happened this year, although tomorrow's going to be cold. I don't know what this is. So it's a mystery. It looks like a turnip or something. I don't know. I don't know what this is. So I use a push seeder, and it has like a hopper, and I'll eventually show you guys that because I got lots more stuff to plant. But occasionally you get some seeds that get left over in the hopper, even though I try to clean it out. And but I don't know what that is. Like it is what it is. It's not a big deal. But I can't say that I recognize it. This is mini head lettuce, and there's like 6 different varieties. There's different romaines and bib lettuce. It's so pretty. These are from Johnny's, and they're just a mini head lettuce, like trios. There's 2 different trios. This one's my favorite. It's just stunning. So Johnny Seeds is where I get most of my stuff. Not everything, but it's where I get most of my stuff for the gardens. I've always had really good luck with Johnny's, and their germination is usually really good. Although, not everything is perfect all the time. Pull off some of the gross bottom leaves. I've always had pretty good luck with almost everything that I've grown from Johnny's, and I go back every single year and do a bulk of my seed ordering from them. This is a romaine. Some of this is starting to bolt. That's okay. We plan on that. So I'm just trying to pick out ones that are not bolted yet. I want to, have the best quality as possible. My drip line isn't here, so I also don't want to cut the drip line, which I think I did, because I can see water squirting from when I harvested yesterday. I can fix that. So I sell these mini heads of lettuce individually. I believe they're $2 a piece. Okay, that should be enough for the next couple of days in the farm store. All right, so here's our bucket. I've got the kale and bok choy in there, and then the leaf lettuce on top. So that bucket is full. This bed has cabbage in it. It is not ready yet, and that's okay. Some of them are getting close. Like, I'd like that to be just a bit bigger, but I'll be able to start harvesting out of here probably in 2 weeks or so. And then it'll be ready for my July basket, which is when I start back to summer season. These are Napa cabbage, and I picked this yesterday, but there's a couple that are ready that I can take for farm store. I just cut at the very base of this and try and not, obviously, like when I harvested yesterday, I went back and I always clean up all the leaves and stuff. I don't like to leave a lot of garbage. it's not garbage, it's plant debris and stuff, but I try to not leave any of that in here because it just promotes like bug growth and like it's places for weeds to hide. And I'm gonna replant this bed. I'll probably put celery in here. That's what I did last year. So I want to get it cleaned up and get everything finished and get everything out of the way so the smaller ones can grow bigger quicker and we can get something else back in here. So Napa cabbage. This will get significantly trimmed down and look more like what you find in the grocery store after it's washed. Thanks for holding my phone, my camera bucket. Okay. We're gonna just take 2 of these for today. Those were the biggest 2. Over this bed is shade cloth, and I actually need to put it back over the head lettuce, but I harvested yesterday and knew I was gonna harvest again today, so I didn't pull it back over. But this is shade cloth, and it helps just keep the plants cooler. It does help extend the life of our harvest and make it so I don't have to harvest it all like at one time. And I use it a lot for like leafy greens, lettuces, the outside Napa cabbage for summertime gets put underneath it. It really does help. It made a significant difference when I started doing it. So this is the new mix that I did this year with mustards and tatsoi and some stuff that people don't typically see. And then I have smaller head lettuce. So this was a second planting of the mini head lettuce that will be ready, I'd say in about 10 days or so. This bed of spinach has been harvested multiple times and it's actually done. I will get this pulled out and replanted, but yeah, you can see it's super stemmy. It's starting to try and go to flower. So it needs to get pulled out, but there is new spinach over here. I've got, those are little baby radishes, and that is the mixed leaf lettuce right there. Probably some weeds too. I have some scallions or spring onions, whichever you want to call them. They will be ready for my July basket. And then next crop of radishes, they're almost ready. Probably I could pick through there and find a few small, but they didn't germinate super good for some reason. Probably next week we'll have radishes back in the farm store. And then here's some spinach that's just a little bit bigger than what I just showed you. This was planted probably about 7 days or so before that. Rainbow chard. I harvested this pretty heavily yesterday for baskets. This will be our rainbow chard for the entire summer. I am in between the high tunnels. The asparagus is over here. The last thing I'm going to harvest this morning is some rhubarb. So rhubarb is a spring crop. It will go all summer if you keep it watered and you keep picking it, but I haven't harvested any yet. It's really big. It's grown a lot in the last few days, which is great. It's one of the first things to kind of come up for the year. This is a beautiful rhubarb. I really like it. It freezes really well. I make strawberry rhubarb puree and then make ice cream all winter long and stuff for the farm store. That rhubarb is gonna hold this rhubarb. So when you do rhubarb, you don't cut it. You have to pull it. I keep breaking it. Not doing a very good job. So you just grab it at the base and you pull. Don't ever cut your rhubarb. These I planted a few years ago, and it's kind of like asparagus where you kind of want to let it go for a couple of years before you like really harvest it. So if you pull properly, you'll see this is like where it goes into the ground, and you want to get this part out. My rhubarb's pretty green. This one usually is a lot more red. I can't say that I understand, but it tastes like rhubarb. It's delicious. So there are different varieties of rhubarb. This one usually is more red, and then I have some that's usually more green. It might just be, maybe it'll get more red as the season goes. I don't know. So yeah, we just pull it. I don't want to harvest the whole thing, at one time. We harvest, I don't know, I think I usually don't do more than like 30% or so of the plant, and then I come back, like every week, every 2 weeks, and keep harvesting it. You cannot eat the leaves. The leaves are poisonous. So we cut those off. They don't get fed to anybody. They don't get composted. They go in the garbage can, is what I do with them. So I just cut off the top, and then we'll make bundles of this in the farm store, for the farm store, and I will sell some, and I'll put a bunch in the freezer for wintertime. So I'm going to harvest some from each plant. I do pull off, I'll come show you. I pull off the seed pods, the flowers. I don't let the rhubarb go to flower. I want it to put energy into making rhubarb, not into making flowers. This is how it reproduces. These will turn into seeds. I don't want this, so I always pop them off. This plant's my skinny plant. It makes like really skinny, tiny rhubarb. There is a really large and old thing of rhubarb across the road. It's been here for as long as I have been here, and it's healthy to divide your rhubarb every once in a while. You know, give it to your neighbors, give it to your family. But I just take a shovel, you know, like in early spring when it first emerges, and divide the plant. But it helps keep it healthy. So, and extends the longevity of your rhubarb. So I did that a few years ago when I was establishing this plot in between the high tunnels. So this actually came from across the road. Oh, another seed pod. I like to fertilize these a couple times a season. I don't, because obviously there's perennial stuff in here, you know, I don't add compost or anything. So I top dress with a fertilizer, and it's time to do that. Same thing with the asparagus. I'll top dress with some fertilizer once I get the weeds out, which still hasn't happened. All right, well that, I think, is enough produce for the farm store for today. I'll get these all cleaned up. We'll get everything washed. Thank you everyone for hanging out with me this morning. I truly appreciate it. And I really am enjoying showing you guys, you know, what a typical day looks like. Like I said, I'm doing this multiple times a week, harvesting, and things always change on the ranch depending on the time of the year. You know, calving season is not the primary focus right now, and so now things and content are going to change because my daily life changes. And so right now I kind of am much more focused on this, the produce side of things, the vegetable side of things, and, you know, the retail side of things with the farm store and everything. And so I am going to show you guys that, and we'll still check cows, and we're still waiting on 45 to calve, and we have things like breeding and branding coming up, and so there's still going to be cow content, but for the most part they're just kind of chilling, eating grass. They get checked a couple times a day, make sure water's good, and cows are a lot more low maintenance right now, and this stuff becomes the focus for everybody on the ranch. And so yeah, as the year progresses, as the season progresses, you know, the content changes. But thank you guys for being here. I truly appreciate it, and I hope that you have a great day, and I hope you're not having to have a root canal today, and I hope mine goes all right. It's gonna be fine. I know that. Never done that. Yeah, so have a great day. I will see you soon.